It started with sirens, the kind that make your stomach drop even before you see the lights. There I was, knee-deep in muck behind my own house, mud smeared up to my knees, boots sinking every step, just waiting as those red and blue lights bounced off puddles and cattails. The officer climbed out, still listening to his radio, while Karen, the HOA queen herself, stood behind him with arms crossed, phone ready, wearing this look like she'd finally won the lottery. "That's him," she snapped, pointing at me like she was picking the criminal out of a lineup. "He destroyed community property. Arrest him." And yeah, it would have been funny if it wasn't so nuts. The officer looked from me to her, then back to me. "Ma'am, calm down." "Sir, what's going on here?" Before I could speak, Karen jumped in. "He's draining the wetlands. That's HOA land, protected land. I want him fined. Or arrested. Or both." The officer just stared at me, waiting for my side, so I took a deep breath and wiped my hands on my jeans. "Officer, the swamp she's talking about? It's not what she thinks." Karen practically rolled her eyes. "Don't play dumb. Everyone knows that's HOA-maintained land. It's on the records. He's only doing this because he hates us." Truth is, I wasn't even sure whose land it was, at least, not yet. I had this old survey map that said the swamp might be mine, but those lines were faded and old. Still, I wasn't about to let Karen bully me off my own property. The officer sighed. "Let's slow down. You got proof of ownership." Karen grinned like a shark in a kiddie pool. "You're in trouble now." I pulled out the envelope I'd grabbed that morning. Inside was the deed, old as dirt, and that map. But before I could show it, the officer's radio crackled. Again, he listened, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, you might want to hear this." And right there, the table started to turn. Let me back up a sec. Because just a few weeks earlier, things were calm. The swamp had always been there, just a mess of cattails, frogs louder than a freight train, mosquitoes that could carry off a small dog. Didn't bother me, honestly. Nature made the ranch feel alive. But after that big spring rain, the swamp swelled up, creeping closer and closer until it was swallowing my garden. My dog Max came home one morning smelling so bad I thought about just hosing him off right there. The stink was unbearable. So, I called the county, asked who was supposed to take care of that mess. Their answer? Not on county records. Looks like private land. That got my attention. I spent nights digging through old boxes in the garage, blueprints, receipts, yellowed newspaper clippings. Then I found it, the original survey map from '76. Faded, but clear enough. According to that, the swamp wasn't HOA property at all. Nope, it sat right inside my boundary, every muddy, mosquito-infested inch of it. For years, folks just assumed it belonged to the HOA because it looked wild. But the deed said otherwise. I decided to reclaim it, rented a pump, bought heavy boots, started clearing the mess little by little. Mud everywhere. Mosquitoes biting, the stench of something dead lingering in the air. But it felt good, like I was finally making the land my own. Neighbors walked by, some waved, some muttered warnings about community land. But there were no signs, no HOA markers, just my mud and my sweat. That's when Karen showed up, standing on the other side of my fence, sunglasses, lips pursed like she'd tasted a lemon. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped. "Cleaning up my property," I said, half laughing. "That's protected HOA land," she barked back. "You can't destroy wetlands because you think they're ugly." I should have known then. She wasn't going to back down. 2 days later, a letter showed up in my mailbox. "Cease all drainage immediately until ownership is verified." I laughed. My house wasn't even part of their HOA. But the letter wasn't just official, it was threatening. I called the county, asked for updated records. "It'll take a few days." Meanwhile, Karen started showing up every morning, taking pictures, making calls, dragging some guy in a suit to inspect my pump. Still, I kept at it, right up until those sirens showed up and Karen called the cops. But here's the twist. When the officer actually took my documents and called county dispatch, everything changed. The radio crackled, and you could see Karen's face start to fall. "Dispatch here. That swamp is not HOA land. It's on private property, extending past the current fence line." The officer turned to me. "You're within your rights." Karen's jaw dropped, and I'll be honest, I wanted to laugh, but I just nodded. "Ma'am," the officer said, "if it bothers you, take it up with the county, not the police." That should have been the end, but with Karen, nothing is ever that easy. The next morning, I saw her hammering a sign into the ground. HOA protected wetland. No trespassing. I stepped out, half awake, annoyed. Karen, what are you doing? She smiled. All fake sweetness. Just putting the sign back where it belongs. The HOA doesn't tolerate trespassers. I pointed to the survey. This is my property. We'll see, she said. Then more board members started showing up, snapping pictures, even flying a drone overhead. It was intimidation, plain and simple. Then came the twist I never expected, a visit from Mr. Lawson, my neighbor since '79. That swamp used to be Jenkins' farm. HOA didn't even exist then, he told me, cane in hand. That conversation was the nail in the coffin. I hired my own surveyors, got the results back. All mine. Every inch. But Karen wasn't done. Saturday morning, she arrived with 3 board members and a lawyer. Restore the swamp or face legal action, she announced. I walked down, fresh survey in hand. The lawyer looked at it, frowned, then told her flat out, the HOA has no jurisdiction here. Karen's face went pale, then red, then pale again. You'll regret this, she whispered. But all I could do was smile and tell her to take her sign and go home. But that night, something changed. I heard splashing in the swamp. When I went out, I found the HOA sign floating in the water, but that wasn't the worst of it. There were containers, pond cleaner, not for public use. Chemicals. Someone had tried to poison the land. I bagged up the evidence, drove it to the county office. Turns out, they found purchase records, bought under Karen's name. After that, the HOA doubled down, fenced off my backyard with yellow tape, tried to inspect my land. When I refused, they backed down. Then Karen disappeared. Her car gone, house dark, HOA covering for her. That night, Max barked like crazy. I saw Karen in the swamp, soaked, desperate, digging for something. She shouted, "You don't know what's buried here," before slipping and exposing a rusted, metal container under the mud. I dug it up at dawn, a box filled with documents, old blueprints, deeds, and letters stamped, disputed ownership. Proof the HOA's land claims were built on forged signatures and lies. That's why Karen fought so hard. She'd lost her husband to this swamp. He tried to expose the fraud, and he drowned. She joined the HOA to keep tabs on Daniels, the corrupt president, but when I started digging, she panicked, tried to protect the secret, even at the cost of poisoning my land. Things exploded from there, late-night break-ins, Daniels showing up with a gun, a wild car chase, hiding in the creek, Karen giving up the box to save my life. And then, as the police closed in, Daniels shot Karen in the creek, her body swept away in the current while I hid, clutching the file she died to reveal. The next morning, I followed Karen's last note too. Her sister-in-law, Lily. The documents prove the neighborhood was built over toxic waste. The HOA and the sheriff in on the cover-up. Daniels tried to finish us off, but the police arrived just in time. In the aftermath, the truth finally came out. News broke nationwide. The town turned on its leaders, and the EPA moved in to clean up. But Daniels vanished. The sheriff's office burned to the ground. Whistleblowers turned up dead. 1 week later, I found a letter in my mailbox. Daniels, you think this is over? Maple Ridge was just one project. There are dozens more, all built the same way, same signatures, same lies. You exposed one wound, but the infection runs deep. I stared at that letter as the morning sun rose over the land I fought so hard to reclaim, a land everyone thought worthless, a land that nearly got me killed. So let me ask you, where are you watching from? Would you have dug up that swamp? Or would you have just left those secrets buried? Let me know in the comments, and tell me, what would you have done if your whole town was built on a lie?